Aloha.
Hey, aloha. My name's Anissa. Nice to meet you all, even though you're on the other side of the screen. Welcome to Malakalu'ulu. This is our farm down in Ke'e, in Ke'e Ahuapua off Middle Ke'e Road. And we are actually in the middle of the ancient Kalu'ulu belt, or the ancient breadfruit belt of South Kona. And this particular belt stretched from Holualoa all the way to Kealia. It was about 19 miles long and about a half a mile wide. And so the elevation is at about 400 feet to 1,500 feet. So when you're driving on the top of the highway, that's basically the sort of border of the Kalu'ulu belt, and that's why when you're driving on the highway, you see these old ulu trees. Well, chances are they're descendants from that ancient grove that the Hawaiians maintained. So, I'm involved with Malakalu'ulu as a cooperative farm member, meaning I have part ownership in the business. And we also have 5 other members who all work together on the farm, and we share profits together. And we have a cooperative business, and so we're also a part of the larger cooperative, which is called Hawaii Ulu Producers Co-op. And that larger co-op, which you might have heard of, you might have seen our website already, that is a co-op of 85 farm members from all around the island and one on Maui. So it's a lot bigger of a co-op. And what we do is we aggregate our breadfruit, or bring our breadfruit together and take it to the facility where it's processed into minimally processed products. So ulu, because it has such a short shelf life, we have to overcome that challenge in order for it to be a viable crop. So what we do is peel, steam, and freeze, or just steam and freeze the ulu. And that allows us to have a long shelf life, so we can, sell that ulu for up to a year. Hawaii Ulu Producers Cooperative also produces and processes other crops that we call co-crops, which grow nicely alongside ulu. And, having that also encourages our farmers to diversify their farm, because when you have diversity of crops, you're more resilient, and you're not just relying on one source of revenue, or one crop to be your main thing. So us too at the Hawaii Ulu Producers Cooperative, by being able to process sweet potatoes, kabocha squash, kalo, and we're working on other fruits as well. Piloting that allows us to have more work year round, and farmers can bring in more of their crops. And so, why ulu? Well, how I got involved in ulu is through studying farming. I came here to Hawaii back in 2010, and actually was at a lettuce farm called Kealaola Organic Lettuce, which is right below Kona Pacific Charter School, below the highway. And I just fell in love with farming, and so I've been farming ever since. And it's brought me to a place where I am now, which is farming ulu. Well, why? Well, I wanted to be a farmer, but I wasn't sure what to farm, and I also love South Kona. And it didn't make sense for me to really do coffee, because that particular industry was having major challenges with, like, the coffee beetle borer, and needing to spray your coffee like 6 times a year or so, and having just a lot more work. And then also, like, because it's so rocky, like you can see everywhere around, there's lots and lots of rocks. This road that I live on is actually called Rock Bottom Road. That's because there's literally like rocks forever. And so we're at 2,500-year-old lava flow, and it's a fairly new land. And the thing about ulu is it grows really well here. And so I learned about ulu in Dr. Noah Lincoln's Hawaiian plants paper, and it was in the section where they talked about canoe crops. And canoe crops, there's over 24 plants that the Hawaiians, or the first Polynesian settlers, brought to Hawaii over 1,200 years ago. And ulu happens to be one of them, though they recognize that it was probably brought a little bit later than when they first initially came. But so anyway, so like other canoe crops include actually plants in this restoration zone where we are now in this area. We're only planting canoe crops and natives. And so we have kava. This is one example right here. We have niu, or coconut. There's ohia'i, or mountain apple. And then you have maia, banana, there's olena, and then there's kalo, and of course ulu. So all of these plants help sustain the Hawaiians' lives here in Hawaii, and ulu was a huge part of that. It was one of their 4 major staple crops, along with sweet potato, kalo, banana, and yeah, 4th one is ulu. So ulu is incredible because it's extremely prolific. It produces an abundance of food, and one tree can produce 300 pounds of fruit per year. That's a sort of average. I've seen trees produce 500 pounds of fruit per year. One of our farmers who maintains their trees and takes care of them. So there's a lot of potential. The co-op actually accepts ulu for $1 a pound. So if you could imagine, if you have one ulu tree, the potential there is, one ulu tree could be $500 every year. So, besides that, it has this huge potential for increasing Hawaii's food security, as well as improving our environment, because ulu provides a lot of ecological services. What it's doing is it's capturing carbon from the Earth's atmosphere, and it's storing it in its body, and in its leaves and branches, trunk, and eventually it will drop leaves. And you can see there's these leaves that are here already, and what this does is this causes decomposition. So you have this organic matter that's being put onto the earth, and the microbes are eating it, it's decomposing, and what happens is that it sort of activates the lava rock, or it activates the rock to become for plants to have it activates the rocks so plants can access the nutrients, the minerals, because even though this doesn't look like it's super fertile, Big Island and South Kona especially is extremely, there's a lot of nutrients in the rocks. And so when it rains, when there's organic matter that's decomposing, that actually makes it available for the plants to take up and then grow nice and big.
Are the rocks a good place for a nap?
Yeah, when they're placed right.
I think so too.
So, yeah, sums up a little bit about, you know, my story. I've actually been working with the co-op since the beginning and been involved with Ulu since 2016 and been obsessed with Ulu probably since 2014. And I still am learning new stuff every day. And yeah, our goal really is to revitalize ulu and other indigenous Hawaiian crops as staples in Hawaii again to increase our food security and sustainability. It's also like we consume in our diet 50% starch. And so that means that half of everything that we eat actually is a starch, but virtually 100% of starches in our diet, like rice and pasta and so forth, they're imported. So if we could just do a little something to improve like our resiliency, you know, choosing local starches is one of the best ways we can help food security and sustainability in Hawaii. So yeah, how you can help: plant ulu trees, eat more ulu. Ulu's delicious. There's so many things you could do with it. It's extremely versatile. You can go savory or sweet. Ulu is also known as the tree potato. It can be used just like a potato. So if you like potato salad, if you like French fries, mashed potatoes, ulu stuffing for Thanksgiving, all sorts of stuff. And when the ulu is ripe, you can make desserts out of it. We make a special product called ulu chocolate mousse, and it's really simple. It's ripe ulu when the ulu becomes sweet and fruity and kind of like a banana and a pineapple mixed together. And we mix it with coconut milk, melted chocolate, honey, and a little bit of sea salt, and it's absolutely delicious.
Do you have to cook it and when it's in the sweet mode?
Yeah, I personally don't like to eat raw ulu, but you can. People put it in smoothies and stuff. I prefer it steamed, and it's just delicious. Like, one of my favorite things to eat in the world is ripe ulu, just steamed, fresh, and yeah, even baked. So, yeah, so plant more ulu trees, eat more ulu, and yeah, that's pretty much all I have for you. Thanks for visiting our farm today, and it's so nice to meet you all on the other side of the screen.
Thank you.
Aloha.